Welcome to Latest Laws. The Supreme Court has issued a significant ruling defining the scope and duration of preventive detention in cases where an advisory board confirms the necessity for such detention. The court held that the constitutional scheme limiting preventive detention to 3 months does not apply when an advisory board confirms the grounds for such detention. The verdict, delivered by a bench consisting of Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Justice J.B. Pardiwala, and Justice Manoj Mishra, also addressed the requirement for periodic review of detention orders by state governments. The interpretation revolved around Article 22(4) of the Constitution, which safeguards against arbitrary arrest and detention. The court affirmed that the 3 months limitation pertains solely to the initial period of detention until the advisory board's report is received. The period following the state government's confirmatory order based on the board's report is not subject to the same 3 months restriction. The bench clarified that the continuation of detention pursuant to the state government's confirmatory order need not specify a detention period and is not restricted to 3 months. In another news, the Indian government has introduced a draft standard operating procedure outlining guidelines for the appearance of government officials in court during litigation involving the government. According to the draft, officials' presence in court should be required only in exceptional cases rather than such as a regular practice. The SOP recommends that officials be given advance notice if summoned to court, with the first option of virtual appearances. The government also urges courts not to comment on official appearance or background. The proposed SOP aims to foster a more cooperative environment between the judiciary and the government while improving the compliance of judicial orders by the government. It suggests that virtual appearances could save both time and resources for both courts and the government. The SOP applies to all levels of court proceedings, including Supreme Court, High Courts, and deal with the government-related matters. It also addresses matters related to quasi-judicial orders in criminal contempt, advocating for restraint and thoughtful consideration for initiating actions against government officials.